Good afternoon, students. Unfortunately, this is coming a little bit late to you. Today's lesson will be focused on simplifying algebraic fractions. Now, here you can use a ruler, unlike me. If you remember rightly, I think we did this a little bit last year. No, I don't think. I know we did this last year a little bit. You can find it in your book 1, Pearson. Book 1 on pages 186 to 187. So first of all, we'll just recap a little bit on what we did last year, and then we will go forward from here to do more difficult stuff. So we'll start off with an example. You are asked to simplify an equation, for example, x squared plus 5x over x. Do you remember how we would do that? So if you remember correctly, we will have to first factorize wherever possible. So I factorize the numerator. X is the common factor. Open bracket. X times x will give me the x squared. Plus 5 will give me the 5x over x. Now I have an x multiplied by an x plus 5, which means I can cancel because it's a multiplication with a denominator, anything that is common. And that leaves me with an x plus 5. I don't really need to put the bracket on that because it's just by itself. Okay, let's look at another example now. We have 2a cubed minus 4a squared b over 2ab minus 4b squared. Again, we notice we have a common factor in the numerator and a common factor in the denominator. We have 2, they're both divided by 2 in the numerator. We also have at least a squared in each term. We will then think 2a squared times what will give me 2a cubed. 2a squared times a will give me 2a cubed. We have a minus there. Minus 2 times what will give me 4? 2. The a squared is already outside the bracket. We need another b. So that if I checked that, 2a squared times minus 2b will come to minus 4a squared b. Over. Now we look underneath. Do we have common factors? Yes, we do. They both divide by 2. And they both have at least one b in them. Then we multiply 2b by something to become 2ab. We would have to multiply it by a minus 2b times what will come to be 4b squared. 2b times 2b will come to 4b squared. Now we're having a look if anything cancels. We have 2a squared times a minus 2b, and in the denominator 2b times a minus 2b. These are exactly the same, so we can cancel them. And we look at what is left. 2 divided by 2 cancels. We're left with a squared over b. If you feel you need to practice them a little bit more, have a look in your book 1 on page 186. You will find them there. 186 to 187. Right, let's move on. Let's do another example now. We will go to the third example. Over here, we have 2m over m squared minus 2m. The top is just one term, so it doesn't really factorize. We'll just copy that. We go to the bottom. We have a common factor of m, which leaves m minus 2 in the bracket. Does anything simplify? Yes, this m with this m is going to simplify. So we're left with 2 over m minus 2. Simple. Right. Last year we also did multiplying and dividing fractions by each other. So we'll do a little bit of that, but we'll see it more later on for more complicated versions. But just so that you're able, if you are actually going to do the exercises that are on page 187, you can you might get stuck on the division and the multiplication if you don't remember. So we'll do one of those. I'm actually doing question 11 on page 187, and that is 1 over 3x minus y divided by 1 over 15x minus 15y. So if we have a division, we have to convert that into a multiplication. So that will become 1 over 3x minus y multiplied by 15x minus 15y. So you must remember to flip it. Whatever's after the division sign, you will flip. We then factorize everywhere that we possibly can. Does anything factorize down here? There is nothing common, so no is the answer. We look up here. They both have a 15. They both divide by 15. So we'll take out 15 as a common factor. And that's 3x minus y. That's very strange, isn't it? I've actually written a question down wrong. That doesn't help. That should be a 5 here. This should be a 5. I'm sorry. So 15 is not the common factor. 5 is the common factor. So 5 is a common factor. We multiply by 3x minus y, because 5 times 3x gives me the 15x minus y to give me that over 1. We cancel here diagonally, top with bottom, and we're left with 1 times 5, which is 5, over nothing on the bottom. Well, 1 times 1 is 1, so there is something, so it's just 5. Okay, now let's move on to Pearson Book 2, which is where we are now. Okay, there is a little bit of a difference, so it's just you've taken a little bit of a step up. So if we go into Pearson Book 2, hang on, we are on page 363. This is where you will look to find such questions. I will give you your work in a minute that you need to do. Right, so on page 363, okay, let's have a look at some examples. Right, so the first example I will give you is 2x squared minus 6x over x squared minus 2x minus 3. So you can already see these are a little bit more difficult because it's not a common factor kind of question only. Firstly, we always look for common factors, and then we look for other things like, is it a quadratic? Is it a difference of two squares? We will continue here. So looking at the numerator, we can see there is a common factor here. There's a common factor of 2, and there's also a common factor of x. So even though it's a quadratic, it's a common factor type of quadratic because there is no number term. There is only an x squared and an x term. So 2x times what will give me 2x squared? 2x times x will give me 2x squared minus 2x times 3 will give me that 6x. Over, we can clearly see this is a quadratic here. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply. This is an x and this is an x. This is an x squared. That multiply to give me 3, which is a prime number, can only be 1 and 3. The signs are different because this is a minus here. And we want to end up with minus 2x when we do the outside and the inside. So it's minus 3 and plus 1. Do we see something that factorizes here? Yes, we do. So we will just, cancel them. 1 and 1, even though we don't normally write the 1. We can do. So it's 2x over x plus 1. That's my final answer. Let's have a look at another one now. Number 2, second example. X squared plus x minus 2 over x squared minus 4. So, we're looking at the top. It's a quadratic. We have x and x. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us 2. It's a prime number, so it's easy. 1 times 2 and have a difference of 1. Of course, they have a difference of 1. We want to end up with plus 1x. So plus 2 minus 1. Plus 2x minus 1x. We're giving that plus 1x over. Do we recognize the difference of two squares? I hope so. X minus 2, x plus 2, or the other way around. X plus 2, x minus 2 doesn't make a difference. And we're cancelling here. So we end up with x minus 1 over x minus 2. There we have it. So for now, I want us to practice page 363, exercise 1 and 1 star. Okay, it shouldn't take you too long. Remember, you would have had a triple period today, so you're supposed to invest that time. Please do all of those. Okay, and then we will move on to multiplication and division. In fact, we can even move on to multiplication and division now. Okay, so there are 24 questions there. If you get stuck on anything, I will see. And we will see them together. And let's move on to multiplying and dividing algebraic fractions now. We'll do that in the next clip. Thank you.